Hello and welcome to Footy Chat episode
11?
the round 9 episode 11. We've missed the last two due to technical issues in our recordings or
Well, the first one was the recording. The second one was
the
YouTube
first
processing.
one was sound wasn't on. Second one, I don't know what it was, but we'll get straight into it. We've had a massive few weeks. We're not going to discuss about the last few weeks. We're just going to discuss the last week.
Yep.
And look forward and see what news there has been. First of all, though, as we do every week, we look at the photo of the week or the photos of the week, and I think this is the only one.
Week.
It is of Spud's game before the St Kilda Carlton game on Friday night. Now, obviously, I think this one just hits home. It's what they do every Spud's game. Both teams in a circle before the game. And this year's message was leave no teammate behind. You don't have to suffer alone. So I felt that was really good. And yeah, going into the local thing, what did you think of this first?
Well, yeah, it's always a great occasion spot game, and they had names on the jumper. They even had a name I was familiar with on the right front and center on the jumper. Oh well, there were a few names familiar with. I think there were a couple of media guys. People like Jared Waitley had their name on the jumper, but Mark Woods was very keen to get his name on the jumper, and that did happen. So that must have been great. And you did bring that jumper in last week. It's a great initiative, an important initiative for the AFL and the clubs to support, and they do it quite well, St Kilda.
They do, and we'll go into that later on. Just quickly checking because I actually bid on one, so I've actually got to quickly check to see if you're
bidding on a match worn.
Yeah, match worn. So, well, not a match worn. It's a player issue. It is. Well, when does it end? It ends in about 1 day, and I'm still the highest bidder. So I thought I'd Max Heath's play issue. He's a young ruckman there. Now we go into the local, and this will be the time. This will be the time that I actually talk about this, as it is to do with my club. I don't have the jumper on. I didn't take the field. I took the field, but I was taking photos. So Guy Sebastian and Brendan Favola played for Masala reserve side, or the Division 5 thirds Division 5 side, where they hadn't won a game for a few seasons. They got the win 55-53. We were about 4 goals up in the last quarter, and South Melbourne Districts just came with a wet sail, but weren't able to get the chocolates there. But I think the biggest thing for me, if you look at the top there with Brendan Favola taking that one-handed mark, and it just reminds me of how elite AFL players and former AFL players are. This was a guy that was taking marks out of nowhere. He was falling down and he marked the ball.
Yep.
So obviously the Masala players had to kick to him, but he just ate the ability to control the ball. Amazing. Guy Sebastian, wish you well. Get well soon.
Yes, well, that was
your Achilles.
That was the only really bad takeaway from the match. I couldn't believe it when Dylan Paget sent it through on the WhatsApp.
Now,
I did have to double check for myself just to be sure.
And he actually sang a song. He said, "We're down here at Masala. Fev's gonna kick a bag. Guy's gonna pull a hammy." And then he said, "Oh, I've jinxed myself now." But he didn't. So I think you got to change it to guys ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you work on the.
I don't know if
I'm
not the wordsmith here. I'm not the song artist. But thank you to Fifi, Fev, and Nick, and Guy Sebastian. Thank you to the 2,500 people coming down to Masala.
It was a massive crowd.
It was a massive crowd. I don't think we'll see that again at Masala, but it was good for at least 1 day to be having this big game feel. And when the siren went, it felt like we won the flag. I was really proud to be part of the club.
Just winning a game would have been amazing under any circumstances, but this was quite the occasion to do it. Not a bad time to be a sponsor for Holmesglen in particular, being on the front and centre of the jumper.
Holmesglen even Holmesglen, as you can see here, they put out a post, Ben to go bang. Thank you, they are our major sponsor, not one of. But, big thank you to everybody at the VAFA. Thank you to all the committee at Masala. Big shout out to Hayley and for doing all she did on the day. Sam Kennedy for entering us. He's also said that if anybody wants to know what it's like before we enter something, speak to him. So any club out there there's a bit of
He's the
advice
man.
if you want to know what it's like and all the phone calls you have to take and all the hoops you have to jump through. Sam Kennedy and Haley. I'm not even going to pronounce the last name. The people to go to, but as that is local footy and great stories there. In other close games in the AFL, and we'll just roughly go through them. On Thursday night at Optus Stadium, it was Fremantle defeating Collingwood 83-90. Sorry, Fremantle losing to Collingwood 97-83. Collingwood up there 97-83. Friday night, it was Most Saints went down to Josh's Carlton 77-62. Carlton just too good there in Spud's game. On Saturday, Hawthorn defeated Melbourne 91-56. Essendon at Marvel Stadium overcame Sydney, who look in trouble this season, 71-63. But it was not so much that; it was more so for these two games, the Melbourne Hawthorn and Essendon Sydney. It was the kicking from the losing side. 7-14. Had you reversed it, it could have been a close game. 8-15. Had you reversed that, you would have well won. Yeah, easily won. Up on the Northern Territory, it was the Alice Springs
at that
game?
Gold Coast Fortress.
Alice Springs game?
I think it might be
TIO
Darwin.
Stadium? Or Darwin game?
I think it might be Darwin. I'll double check
No, it
that.
would be Darwin.
Yeah, Darwin, yeah.
Darwin.
Melbourne is Alice Springs.
Yeah.
Gold Coast is Darwin. It's a fortress there. They
106
basically
to
never
96,
lose.
but it was only a 10-point victory there. In what was a really good showdown and a really good finish, 89-84. Adelaide defeating Port Adelaide.
Another beauty between those two South Australian rivals.
On Sunday,
Sunday was
Richmond defeated West Coast 81-79. Just it felt like a bit of a Tiger theme of winning by 2 points with the Masala Dandenong Tigers also doing that. We made comment of that. In what was the sibling match in your household, GMHBA, it was Giants 105 to Geelong 101.
That is correct.
And then what a way to finish the round,
After
which
all of
was
that,
the lowest combined margin for a round in some time.
Yeah, in the AFL era and since about 1970, I think it was.
With a draw finishing it off, so 71 apiece. Everybody would have thought Brisbane were going to walk home by 50 plus points. I was going for North Melbourne. It would have been great to have seen, but that was the week that was. What are your thoughts? Anything stand out to you?
They all stand out. What stands out for me really is there was a lot of really individual moments of brilliance. So you had intercept marks, you had Brown's rundown tackle.
I think that was the moment of the round, though.
Yeah, the rundown tackle was the best part of the round, easily.
Almost, it's like an RKO out of nowhere. That tackle, if you actually watch it, is like the guy running, and then Brown just found this extra pace of speed to just run him down.
Yeah, it was perfectly executed in just about every way. So it was a round of just doing little things at the right time. It's so many close games, sort of hard, and a lot of individual great moments. So Jamie Elliott kicked 7. How many did Hogan have in the game against? I can't remember how many he had. It was about 7 or 8 or something similar.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it was something similar to that. The Giants ended up kicking 16 goals. So there was a lot of great individual moments of brilliance and sort of length-long moments of brilliance as well. I will say, with regards to the Cats Giants game, obviously I was a little bit disappointed that Geelong weren't able to win, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a very enjoyable game of football.
Jesse Hogan kicked 7 goals.
7 goals,
7 goals won. I think I just want to point out, because I didn't mention earlier, Fev kicked 6-8.
Oh, okay.
So he kicked a bag. He kicked 6 goals. I think it was 6-8. We scored 7-13. So
okay.
It was
there was a little bit
one other goal scorer in that, but Fev kicking 6.
There you go.
But Jesse Hogan kicking 7 goals,
and
one
Jamie
just reminded.
Was he 6 or 7? I think it might have been 6-2.
I think
he was going for 7.
Second time he kicked 6 goals in a game.
Yeah, it was 6 goals 2 because he was lining up for his 7th and he missed. But with regards to I did want to mention with regards to the Giants Cats match, I was slightly happy that the Giants won it because earlier that day, my brother, who is a Giants supporter, has got really big into the National Hockey League playoffs at the moment. He spawned the Edmonton Oilers, and they lost in very heartbreaking fashion. They let a goal in with it was 0.4 of a second left in Game 3 of their series. So if both the Oilers and the Giants would have lost in the dying stages of both games narrowly, that would have been very very harsh for my brother. So. He deserved one of these close victories, and it was the Giants. Mike Blitzarves couldn't keep straight on that kick with about 80 seconds left. Not to be. If Geelong kicked a bit straighter, and at goal they would have won that game, but not to be.
I mean, 14-17. I don't think it's just good enough when you see all the other teams.
There's a couple of others that were worse, but
still up there.
The Cats could have won that game. The Cats should have won that game
14-17,
with 31 scoring shots to 25.
I was about to say that's the thing. Is you look at the scoring shots and you're able to actually do. That's a little bit of my Yoda rant. I'm not going to go too much into it. It's just the kicking in those games. And there was also this thing. I don't know what your Volcano will be about this week, but mine is leave the umpires alone. Simple.
Well, I'm gonna try and help the umpires in my Volcanoes this week. That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm just going to leave the umpires alone.
You're going to leave them alone.
There's a bit too much. No, I'm saying leave them alone. I'm not going to leave them alone. I'm saying leave them alone. They're human. They make mistakes. The comments surrounding this stuff, especially Thursday night, I just think leave it alone. I'm not going to comment about it.
Yep.
I don't know too much about it. I've just seen a little bit, and I'm there going, it's basically clutching at straws. Okay, there was a mistake.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm going to have time for. That's all I'm not going to have time for. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. But we go into the season 2025 horse race. Now we're starting to actually, because each week we're going to go through it. By the end of the season, it'll be a proper race. We can just hit record and just watch.
Yeah, we might do a sort of stop motion sort of thing. Here we go. So this is how it all began.
This was the first one. Richmond just jumped out of the box, and then they're
Richmond. You always notice Richmond at the start because you have to, and then they just keep going back and back.
But it's like they jumped up really well, but they just don't have the speed that the other teams have. This is after round 8 here. You can see
some real patterns here.
I pointed out last week.
3 at the back in that sort of middle section.
And as you go to this week, this is where I see them right now. St Kilda move back, Carlton move forward, West Coast still back there, North Melbourne move forward a bit, Richmond just in the same area, Melbourne moving back a bit, Port Adelaide staying about where they are, Essendon move forward a little bit, Freo staying where they are, Sydney just moving back. I'm starting to drop off Sydney actually.
Yeah.
Then I think anybody above St Kilda are the contenders.
Yep.
So there's 8 teams there already. I'm not saying they're all going to make finals, but I'm saying I think you could almost pencil in the top 5. I think the top 5 there with Hawthorn taking the lead, Collingwood. Adelaide's just in front of Collingwood for me right now, and then Geelong, they had a 4-point loss, but still they're up there. They've moved back slightly.
Interesting, you've got the current team that's, and I know that the ladder's a bit on the wonk with the Suns, who are kind of sitting in 4th, but they play one last game, we know that. But you've got the team currently on top of the ladder, albeit by 2 points. To be fair, they did have a draw against lowly North Melbourne, but they're the current number 1 on the ladder.
That's why they had a draw against North Melbourne. You've got to factor in who they play.
Yeah.
So this is where this is not looking at the ladder. This is looking at. You got to remember, this is looking from round 1. So if you go back to round 1,
I've got to go all the way back now, do I?
Yes, you have to, because I'll explain it. Okay. So round 1 here. This was not based on anything but the game they played.
Yeah.
So Richmond played Carlton. Carlton were expected to win. Richmond bang.
80 plus, someone said. Some idiot said 80 plus.
Yeah, so it's Carlton. Like if you're thinking Carlton's actually going to be a finals contender and you lose to them, so you beat them, you're going to be up the front because that was just round 1. But then you look at round 2. You just look at the teams. There was a lot of movement in the first few rounds.
Yes, there was.
And you got to think about the pack size of this is quite small, right?
Yeah.
As rounds go on,
Gisborough went to last and then went forward again.
So from now on, it's like they're not moving.
I just thought I'd try and weigh it up with what the ladder was saying. So
they're not moving too much.
No, they're not moving too much now.
The one thing I don't do is, and I'm making sure of this, I'm not looking at the ladder when I do this.
Okay.
So it's a case
I
do not know where they are on the ladder. I'm going where they are on here, and then based on that last game, they move.
Yep. Had North Melbourne scored 1 more point, Brisbane would be currently, you said, they would drop down from first. They would have been 3rd on the ladder now, behind Collingwood and Hawthorn.
Let's just go through the ladder because as I said, I don't look at the ladder when I'm doing this. So you've got Brisbane there on top. They're about
30.
5th there. You got Collingwood about third in that. Hawthorn, who are third, leading. Gold Coast, as you mentioned, fourth there in that second pack. Adelaide, they're up there. Bulldogs are up there. Geelong are up there. Giants are up there. So, of the top 8, they're in the 8. It's just a different order.
Yep. Essendon,
they're behind St Kilda at the moment. Carlton and Freo are all above St Kilda, but St Kilda beating the likes of Port Adelaide away, Geelong, having those wins kind of put them up a bit forward. And then Carlton's performances, who did they play? So that's something you factor in. St Kilda being there, they play West Coast this week, so they're probably going to stay there. They're not going to go too far forward with a win. But you got Carlton, Fremantle, St Kilda and Port Adelaide, all with 4 wins. They're all in that area. Essendon, I just don't know about them, but they're about Sydney. I think for me, Sydney was one that the expectations, they win, they go a bit forward. They're going to drop back now.
Yep.
Because they're 14th. And then you got Melbourne, Richmond, North Melbourne and West Coast. So it's almost this half of the field will be Sydney on the fence, meaning I don't see them travelling too far.
No.
These are the teams that can move forward. Melbourne looking like they're going to go backwards again. They're playing Brisbane this week. But we'll wait and see what happens next week. As I'm interested to know the wall of shame for this week.
Yes, let's
and
go
I think
to the
we touched on it
wall.
earlier with 7:14 and 8:15. It is Melbourne and Sydney. So
very disappointing.
Yeah, very disappointing. Both teams could have actually made a closer game of it, or even won had they actually hit the targets a bit more.
Yep.
Geelong, as you mentioned, could have been up there.
Dodged a bullet, perhaps.
Dodged a bullet. I won't include North Melbourne or Brisbane because I think one behind converted to a goal would have won it for them, but you can't really claim that. Richmond were 11-15. They could have been there had they lost as you go here now. Now, there are only 5 teams not up there, as this is the wall of shame. But you're going just to the next slide now.
We have them. Here are the 5.
So Brisbane, Fremantle, Geelong, St Kilda, and Western Bulldogs. These are the teams.
So we haven't even got to the mid-season buys, right? So we're at round 9. Everyone's played 9 games except for Essendon and Gold Coast, of course, who have only played the 8. And we've wiped out almost what's that, about 3/4, more than 2/3 of the competition? Not quite 3/4, but 2/3 of 3/4.
Yeah.
So only 5 left. Can these 5 survive? Well, based on those numbers, it's going to be very difficult for them to survive the next 14 weeks.
Yeah, will be. I'm interested to see which the team will be last.
Last man standing is probably the one that is achievable for all 5 of these clubs. Just make sure you bring your goal kicking boots with you, and you'll be fine.
Yep. As we go to.
Hey, here we go. Volcano.
Now.
All right, now it's time for Yoda Rants.
Take the floor, go on.
I'm going to take the floor. Now, I will say, I will have an accompanying article for this. Not that I've actually started, because I've been very busy. So expect that probably, we're recording this on a Wednesday, releasing this on a Wednesday. Expect a Thursday release, I think, for the updated version of the Volcano. I've already wrote a piece on the Paul Curtis tackle while we were off. Anyway, this week, you mentioned the umpires earlier, and I'm here to help them. I'm not here to be very negative on them. I'm a firm believer in you can't complain about something unless you have a solution. I have a solution for them. It's very simple. I think it's relatively, well, I say relatively, it's going to be some coin involved, but relatively cheap, and you can basically do it at any game, no matter where it is. It's a very simple system, all right? What we've got right now is we've got people who sit and watch a game of football in the Arc, right? They're going to still be around. We're still going to need them, and basically what their job is, they're going to watch the entire game, everything, and they're just going to sit and they can bring some popcorn or some hot dogs or whatever footy food they particularly like. They can sit down and get paid to watch some football like some of us, and they go, oh, hello, was that a trip from the goal square? Yes, it was. I'm going to go to, it's almost like the nuclear button, or what Trump has, his Pepsi button, whatever it is. You press the button, there's some effects go off, you're able to connect directly to the field umpires, and now what I can already immediately tell people's complaints about this is going to take too long? I've already got a solution for you there. When the umpires, so the ARC has direct communication to a field umpire. When they tell them that, it's not a suggestion. It's not, can you just look up on the big screen and we'll debate for the next 15 minutes whether or not this is actually a free kick. The ARC is only intervening when it knows for sure a free kick has been missed. And it can be for anything. Because the moment you start limiting things, you're going to find, you see this in every sport. You limit, all right, we're not going to review these ones. And then the next year, what happens is a controversy of a missed call or something you limited. You saw it with the NFL, with pass interference, that sort of thing. So, and this applies for all sports, by the way. I'm not saying this is how I think it should be done. Just have this big guy up there in New York, as it always is with the American sports. They're able to press a button. They're able to communicate. They're able to communicate with the clock operators so we can reset the clock if that bit's necessary. Just get it all lined up. Now, if we introduce yellow and red cards in this sport, maybe a little bit of communication would be fine because that's a much bigger decision. But otherwise, all right, there was a missed trip in the goal square. That's okay. We'll press a button. We'll let you know. Set it here. Set the clock back. Give it to that guy. Ready? Time back on, and we resume. Very simple solution. Almost nothing would be missed in that case. It shouldn't take too long if they actually do it properly. And the last thing, the AFL, they need to, at the very least with their, can I just mention one last thing with this? Score review, please, fair income. I've been wanting this for years. When you do a score review, right, and you're looking at the behind line, what if you put cameras on the outside of the goalpost? So instead of looking through posts and trying to decipher where the ball is, we actually have a camera on the outside of the goalpost, between the goalpost and the behind post, so you can see the behind line unobstructed. That would be fantastic. That's the most expensive part of this entire job. Put cameras in the right spots, allow the guy in the sky to call whenever he likes, whenever he needs to, and if you do it in that way, and you make sure that, no, this isn't a suggestion. This is what actually happened. We're not going to sit here for 15 minutes talking about it. No, we've seen a free kick. You missed it. It goes there, ball there. It can be done relatively quickly if you put the right process in place. Good idea, bad idea?
I'm mixed.
You're mixed.
I'm there going, this is... It's like an umpire in cricket. You want to take the umpire right out of it so then it's 100%.
Yeah. Well, it's close to 100% as you can get.
But then you're going to go, this is only going to happen at the very elite level.
Yeah. Well, because you can't afford anything else lower down.
That's why I'm there going, no. Like, you want, like, an umpire in cricket is there.
Yep.
And it's his decision. And at the elite level, you've got some parameters for a challenge or the no ball
thing. A problem with the challenge is, what if you So right, we'll take cricket as example. You mentioned cricket. Go back to that 2019 Ashes Test at Headingley. Right, Australia lose their last review, and then Joel Wilson misses a very obvious LBW. So we have a system brought in to prevent that from happening, that missed LBW, and we can't use it.
But okay, in cricket, you've basically hit the nail on the head with the first thing. Each team has a set number of challenges to basically go, I think you're wrong.
But that's not the best way to go about it if your aim is to try and remove
what you're then wanting to say is, okay, we're going to have it for every decision, everything.
Not every decision. If you can keep the game going and only intervene when you have to, when you, again, know for certain that this has happened. So in that Joel Wilson case, they would have set up for the next over,
but
or began to set up for the next over.
Then why not just take the umpires out of it altogether?
Well, we can't do that.
This is where I'm going, like, hold on. We've got umpires, but I am one of these people that will sit in a crowd and listen to so much abuse to the umpires. And I'm there going, I can actually see that. I see that free kick being paid. I can actually see why it was being paid.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. There's some missed free kicks for both sides. Okay. I don't mind if it's consistent. So if umpire is making umpiring is making mistakes for both sides, okay.
I don't like that either. I don't like the consistent part either.
Why not?
Because then basically the interpretation from that is, we're just going to ignore the rule book, and we're just going to say, well, whatever flows, whatever goes. If you miss one in the first quarter, you have to miss the rest of the others instead of getting them right.
If it's consistent, if it's plain, like if it's one umpire. Okay, I'll go from a local footy perspective right now, okay? So a couple of weeks ago, I was at local footy, under-19s game. It was a close game. There's no deliberate out of bounds, right?
Yes, you did mention this in the episode that didn't go.
There's no insufficient intent. The Blackburn players come through, hit the ball out, and the umpires called it insufficient.
A free
intent.
kick.
Yeah, free kick and basically a goal from them because of where it was. what then? Okay, like you get local level on that. Are they? If that happened at the elite level, where it was like,
well, that wouldn't happen.
No. But I'm just saying,
if
they were to judge it, no, that's not insufficient intent, or that could be insufficient intent. Like, you've got to draw the line at what is the umpire going to do. And you can't go, oh, well, that's clearly holding the ball. Well, hold on, is it? Or he didn't get rid of that.
Yeah, so if you're not sure, you wouldn't intervene.
Let's go with okay, he didn't get rid of it properly. It's like, hold on. From the angle of the umpire, he can't actually judge.
Yeah, which is
I'm
not blaming the umpire in that case.
No, but I'm saying he can't actually judge that, he
kicked it or not, or he
kicked it or not, or handballed it or not. But then what you're saying is, oh no, we're going to have all the technology available to us.
Well, the best we can do.
And therefore you need to have that at every ground through the AFL, even at Darwin and Alice Springs.
Well, there needs to be, each ground needs to have certain things that make it an AFL ground.
You need to make it.
It's why we can't. Yeah. It's why we're not playing at the AFL at Masala or at East Reserve behind where I live, or at the local footy club that I'm about to talk to in the history lesson.
But I think it's a case of what we need to do is, full-time umpires.
Yes, that's the bare
That
minimum.
to me is what I think we need to go down. Don't include more technology, because then what you're doing is you're having a reliance on it, and it's going to become, the umpires can be a bit more complacent. Oh, I don't need to pay. I don't need to actually adjudicate this game.
I don't think that's how
I don't need to adjudicate it, because if I miss a decision, someone else is going to call it.
They might be a bit less stressful in that case.
No, but it's like, I don't need to blow the whistle.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
I'm just saying, I do not want more technology. I want proper training for umpires. I want full-time umpires.
Well, we agree on that.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to have full-time umpires. And that should have happened a long time ago anyway.
And it might not be you might have two. Is it four field umpires?
It's 4 field umpires.
So you have 2 full.
So that's 36.
Full-time. You say you have 2 full-time.
So 2 full-time and 2
part-time.
Yeah.
So then you basically
you could do that at least for starters.
You start off as a part-timer.
Yep.
And then you go, you've done well. You're going to be a full-time. Yep, we're going to offer you a full-time contract next year. And you go the full-time umpire. So you might be wondering why there's a cut here, a few technical issues. However, we're getting right back into it. We're going to go into Lorenzo's history lesson. What have you got for us this week?
I just wanted to briefly shout out a local club. You've been talking some local footy, with Masala and Favola coming down there. So I thought I would mention the local club that I've been involved with. I'm not playing for them. Not that I've played any football.
Not yet. We'll get you down there. We'll get you down.
There's spots at Masala. There might be. Anyway,
I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Maybe. We'll see.
I'll get you down there.
But I have been following the Nullarbor Lions Football and Netball Club, mainly because most of the people involved with the main team they've got there, the under-19s team, is full of a bunch of people that I used to go to school with. About half the team, I reckon, is just former schoolmates of mine.
Oh, wow.
So they know me, and they know that I'm doing media. So I've come down and I've followed and taken some footage of them playing. And watching how they've been going along. If you look at the history of Nunawading, it's been interesting. They were founded in 1927, so they're very close to their 100th year celebrations in a couple of years.
Hopefully they can get back.
Yes, well, they've been struggling a little bit. They've had quite a few times where players have just left the club pretty quickly, and coaches as well. So they don't actually have a seniors and reserves men's side at the moment, but they still have a netball team. They're a football and netball club after all. They've still got a women's team, and they've been able to cobble together an under-19s team. They've taken the Forest Hill Football Club, who use the same facilities. So any under-19 players for Forest Hill have come over and played under the Nunawading name. Any seniors left for Nunawading have come and played for Forest Hill. They don't have a reserve or seniors team in the EFNL Division 4. So
hopefully that can change before the 100th.
Hopefully that will. That's the main aim, to sort of get the club back up and going. The president of the club is the father of someone who, like I said, I've known since kindergarten days. We didn't go to the same primary school, but we went to the same kindergarten and the same high school. So I've known that family for quite a while. And they're plenty of good characters. People trying to do things for a club that, if you look at their premiership list, it hasn't been extensive. They haven't done lots of success. But they're still around nearly 100 years later, and hopefully they will still be around. Hopefully we can have a bit more glory days for the club. At the very least, just trying to bring back a seniors and reserves team in time for 2027. So I've been following them around. They have had a win, so that's a positive. A couple of weeks ago against Bayswater. Some of the form reversals have been a bit all over the place. Like a lot of local footy. Sometimes you lose by a lot, and sometimes you win by a lot.
I know a lot about the losing by a lot. I've been involved with a few, and
but that's where they're sitting at the moment, and hopefully what I'm doing will lead into some sort of project that will help get their name out a bit more recognisable among people. But well done just big shout out to everyone at the Northern Lions Football and Netball Club. You're doing good
luck
stuff.
to them. Good luck to them.
And hopefully they will still be around in a couple of years' time.
Good stuff. And we go from obviously your history lesson to who can and can't win the flag. Who have you got this week?
All right, I have. Did I put this up or no? All right.
No. Just tell me who you've got.
All right. So we've got. This was the situation coming into the week.
Yep.
And I'd been thinking about it.
Yep.
And
no, don't do that. Don't do that. Just tell me.
All right. Oh, you'll do it? You'll do it. All right.
You can take that off.
All right. I'm gonna put the X on St Kilda.
Yep.
And Fremantle.
Okay.
So there we go. That's much better
done. That's why I had it all set up to go.
You were ready. I didn't realise that's how we were going there. Yep. Both lost this week. Essendon, they're 5-4, but they've been a bit all over the place.
You're putting the hold on them.
Wins. I'm just going to hold on them for next week.
We've got 3 removes only.
Yep,
so you can kind of... I'm going to say by round 20, you can't remove any. After round 20. So after round 20, you can't remove any. So any that you've got on?
So I've got 9. So I've got exactly half the competition still up there for now. You got 1 less than me because you're just down to 8.
I've got the 8. I think this is going to be this is my tip for the 8. Is Adelaide, Brisbane, Collingwood, Geelong, Gold Coast Giants, Hawthorn and the Doggies. Obviously, you've got Essendon in there as well. But
at least for now.
As we move on, the Giants are the heavyweight champions after defeating the Geelong Cats at GMHBA Stadium in the sibling match.
Yes. It was a very impressive win for the Giants, and now they're back and at home as well.
Geelong almost were able to maintain themselves, but
not quite. Only 1 week. Only 1 week.
They did,
and we've had it off already. And the Giants, they've got.
You don't want this title. You won the cup.
We want the real one.
Well, talking about Giants though, with the big calls.
Yes.
Geelong and Giants.
Well, these games.
The margin was under 10 points, so you tick there. St Kilda did not win, so that's an X. And you've gone with Giants again for round 10.
I'm keeping the Giants theme, and partially because I'm not going to be able to watch this game because I'm going to be following the Nutter Lions out at Scoresby. So I've gone Giants win by at least 24 or more against Fremantle as they play in Sydney at their actual home ground. They played Sydney a couple of weeks ago in the Derby, in the Battle of the Bridge. But they haven't been at home for a little while because obviously the Easter show was held at their home venue. So it was about round 4, I reckon.
Five games.
Yeah, so
5
6th
rounds,
of April
maybe 6
against
rounds,
West Coast.
I don't know.
So it's been about 5 weeks away from home.
Yep.
So hopefully the Giants will give their fans a good homecoming.
Hopefully.
And I've gone for them to win by at least 24
I've gone
more.
St Kilda again with St Kilda Brisbane 80 points. Plus margin for the combined margin for Brisbane defeating Melbourne and St Kilda defeating West Coast. That has to happen. Oh, but I don't know. I'm going to. I've got to get St Kilda in some way before I move on, I think. But something else we've got to go for St Kilda is Extra Time Cup. Carlton are on top after defeating St Kilda. They're 3 games, 2 wins, 1 loss. Collingwood and St Kilda both 2 games, 1-1 apiece. And Geelong 3 games, 1 win, 2 losses. Now, they only play 4 games. The next one's in about round 15.
Yeah, so we've got about 6 weeks of waiting.
So the 3 remaining games are Saints Pies in round 15, Blues Pies in round 17, and then St Kilda Geelong round 19. We could have it sewn up by round 17 if
it could be
Blues
over
win.
quickly.
I think if Blues win, that's it.
Yeah.
So Blues win, it's irrelevant on what happens. Blues win. St Kilda could win both. It would be 4. It'd actually be 4-1 each. So there's a bit more to play out in it. We won't put the
standings up for the next few weeks while we...
I mean, the standings are going to be the same. We're not going to put the percentage up. We'll work out the percentage once each team has played
the only way
each other after round 19.
The only way for the Cats to do this is to beat the Saints and hope everyone lands on 2-2 and then hope you outdo everybody.
So you're hoping St Kilda defeats Collingwood. Collingwood defeats Carlton, then Geelong defeats St Kilda, which is actually a realistic possibility.
That might happen. It wouldn't surprise me. And then, well, not only do they need to win, the percentages need to work out nicely.
I don't think St Kilda are going to defeat Collingwood, though. I think Collingwood are finding their form, and especially by round 15, they're going to be really strong. And just towards that tail of the season, they'll be good.
I hope it's all I need to cling on for.
It's all footy is, isn't it?
Trophy.
Hope.
Yes.
As we look to the week ahead and hope, and I've got to get these names up again. So it's Gold Coast will take on Hawthorn in Darwin for the Gold Coast playing in Darwin for the second week in a row.
That's correct. Fortress.
It is, and they were able to beat Western Bulldogs. Can they defeat Hawthorn?
It was a tense finish.
Sydney and Carlton play on the Friday night up in the Marngrook game, I believe it might be. Collingwood will take on Kuwana or the Crows on Saturday at 1:20. Yalta Pulti will take on Geelong or Power, take on the Cats.
I won't be able, like I already mentioned, won't be able to watch that. Can't believe there are two games on at the exact same time, 4:15 on a Saturday. But anyway.
GWS take on Walyulup.
Yep.
Walyulup, or the Dockers. Giants Dockers there at 4:15 as well as Yalta Pulti and Geelong. Western Bulldogs, the solitary Saturday night game against Essendon, 1:10 on Sunday. It is Richmond and North Melbourne, Brisbane and Narm, or the Demons at 3:20 on Sunday. And to finish off the round, it is Woolwich Maraya,
something like that,
against Euro, or it's the Eagles against the Saints. So all should be cracking round 10 action. Can't wait to be here next week and discuss everything that's gone on over the weekend in footy, both at the AFL and at local level. We'll see you next time.